Welcome back in, builders. This week we're taking a look at Vaettiheim, Wolf Kin Jarldom. Vaettiheim is a land of bitter winters and cool summers. It is the home of the Vaettir, small and wicked goblins who once dwelled in the icy forests of Jotunheim. When the Jarls of Jotunheim sealed the alliance with the humankind, the remaining gygjas and their Vaetti servants retreated into the wild woods. With the guidance of the few remaining gygjas, the Vaettir formed a nation of their own. Vaettiheim is a land of the Vaettir and giants centered in the Iron Woods, the ancient home of the Jotan gygjas. With the coming of the awakening god, the Vaetti hags of earlier times have been more or less replaced by the Vaetti gygjas, trained in the Iron Woods, and the Vaettir have adopted the weapons and armaments used by the Jotans and the humans. Kind of a short little introduction here for a nation that was relatively new towards the end of Dom 5. For national features, we are cold resistant and we prefer cold scales of +2. Our military is small, stealthy Vaettir, wolf riders, and a few giants. For magic, we have some death, glamour, nature, blood, water, astral. None of which I would say are particularly strong. We get up to about 2 in most of those. Our priests are weak. For scales and blesses, we have a cold limit of +1. Our buildings are primitive forts, and what that actually means is we can build castles, so this isn't nearly as bad as that sounds. And our labs cost 300 in forests. We have one site, the Iron Woods, that allows us to get several different cap-only, a cap-only mage, a cap-only assassin, our cap-only sacred, and we can get some Jotun hurlers or some Jotun axemen. Those are cap-only units. Gem-wise, we get a death, an astral, and 2 nature. This feels a little weird. The nation lost a lot of nature access from 5 to 6. It feels like we should have a glamour gem in here is what I'm getting at, but this is what we have. Units and sacreds. 4 units were actually better than you might expect. We have a kind of wide thing here, although a lot of these actually do have some use. Starting us off is the Vaetti Archer. This can also be recruited in all forests. The Vaetti as a species have lower than human HP and a lot of stats. They tend to be relatively good at attacking, which is rather nice. They are very cheap also. This guy in particular is 6 gold, 4 resources, 8 recruitment points, has low morale, good magic resist, has cold resistance, stealth of 40, and forest survival. He is wielding a dagger and short bow, has full leather armor and a leather cap. Overall, it's a short bow on a relatively weak chassis in the late age. I don't like it. We don't have fire access. We do have nature, but even with poison arrows, short bows just aren't going to cut it. They're not going to be able to do much. I do not like these. Unfortunately, part of our starting army is these guys. This is a nation that suffers greatly from an absolute trash starting army. Next up, we have the light Vaetti infantry, can also be recruited in all forests. And of our light troops, this is my favorite. 7 gold, 5 resources, 9 recruitment points, has the basic Vaetti stats. He is wielding a hatchet that he's pretty good with, 11 attack for 14 slashing. And this one in particular has full leather armor, a leather cap, and a shield. Why do I like these guys? Well, the 14 slashing is about as good as we're going to get on our cheap stuff that we're going to have to start with. So that's basically it. The hatchet's a fine weapon, and he's decent at it. Yeah, he's okay. He's okay. We're not excited, but at least he can do something. Next up is the Vaetti Spearman. Now, this guy, it's the same troop, except for he has a chainmail cuirass, an iron cap, and a shield. He's got a length 3 spear that does 12 piercing damage. Now, the chainmail cuirass compared to the leather armor is nice. 8 protection with the leather, 13 with the chain. However, 12 piercing damage is not going to be killing very much. So maybe if you're thinking this guy's going to be better at repelling to hold the front line, I would go this route. But 7 gold, 10 resources, 9 recruitment points. I think for that, I would rather have double the amount of the axemen if I am resource bound. So that's a pretty iffy troop to me. Next up, we have the Vaetti Crossbowmen. These guys are great. 7 gold, 10 resources, 9 recruitment points. So on the cheaper end of crossbows. Has the same stats we've been seeing. Wielding a dagger that he's pretty good with, and a crossbow that he's good with. So overall, it is a crossbow. It does about the same as a human crossbow does, which is great. And these guys are all size 2. I didn't mention that before, but as size 2, we can fit 5 of these into a square. So if you are buffing them with something, poison arrows actually could do something here because the crossbow is likely to at least be able to do chip damage to things. So I'm a little more interested in that. If somehow you got some air buffs for precision or some fire buffs for a real damage buff, these guys would be great. They're wearing a chainmail cuirass and an iron cap. That's actually fine. That basically makes them very hard to get rid of with using like short bows. So that is pretty darn handy there. I like these a lot. We are in the late age. If you don't have a crossbow, what have you been doing with your life? So these guys have been making good decisions. Next up, we have the light Vaettir infantry. This is the leather version of the chainmail one we looked at before. Again, if I was going to get the light stuff, I'm going to get the axe who has a chance to maybe actually kill something. At 12 pierce, I'm just not seeing it, unfortunately. Next, we have the Vaettir. This is a better troop, I would say. He is 10 gold, 14 resources, 17 recruitment points. He has almost human stats. He's getting closer here. He has bodyguard 1 in addition to our regular traits. He is wielding a broadsword, 12 attack, 15 slashing, is almost at that gold standard, but at least he's really good with it. And he's wearing the chainmail hauberk, the iron cap, and the shield. I like these guys. If you can get these will make a good front line for you. They're almost at that ideal for both protection and damage, but they're close enough to at least be in the running. Next, we have the Vaettir Berserker. This is a fun unit. I like this guy, actually. I have a soft spot for big two-hand wielding Berserker guys. So 12 gold, 10 resources, 23 recruitment points. Noticing a pattern here, a lot of our troops need a lot more recruitment or about double the resources. So I would strongly consider some order on this nation just to make sure we have enough recruitment points to get the troops that we want. We're back down to not quite human stats here. They do have Berserker +2 if they can survive a hit. They only have 8 HP and they only have 13 protection. But if they do, that extra Berserk's going to up their attack, their strength, and I believe protection. So yeah, it's going to be a nice little stat bump there. They're wielding a length 2, so as big as they are, battle axe that has 12 attack and 21 slashing damage, armored in chainmail cuirass and an iron cap. I actually like these guys. These are one of those chassis that really likes to be buffed. Anything you can give them will be helpful, and you get 5 of them in a square, so it's pretty efficient to get your point buffs out. So bark skin, body ethereal, luck would be really good on these guys. Twist fate would be fine. Giant strength, weapons of sharpness, just all the things. Even tipper armor would be good here. Just any buffs you can give these guys, they will like a lot. That good attack with a 21 slashing damage is good enough that you can use these guys to hack apart something like heavy cav or heavy infantry pretty effectively. They're not quite like that mid 20s, even up to 30, where you're hacking apart like gods and monoliths, but this is still pretty nice. It gives you an answer to heavy cav at least, if nothing else. Fun unit either way. Berserking is always nice. If you could get that to proc, they'll stay in the fight, so it's kill me or I win. Overall, a very fun unit to use. I really like this battle axe, and I think that they synergize really well with luck, actually. This whole nation, I think, does. Next up, we have the Wolf Rider. These can also be recruited in all forests. This is 15 gold, 6 resources, 11 recruitment points, almost human stats. The Wolf is a size 3, so you can get 3 of these to a square. Fortunately, they're wielding a spear. I wish they had light lances. That would have been really nice. These ones have snow move. They also have pillager. Remember, pillager lets you do a special command where you kind of like raid a province and you cause extra unrest, you kill some pop, and you steal some money. So as a raiding force, these can be kind of nice. They're stealthy, light cav, very light cav at 40 stealth. Good map movement at 20, and they have the snow move to help that mobility go on. Beyond the spear, which only does that 12 damage, so that's disappointing. They have full leather armor, a shield, and a leather cap. Related to them is the Wolf Brother. Very similar troop. He has just upgraded to the chainmail and the iron cap and the shield. For both of these troops, I actually like these quite a bit. I find them rather useful. About 10 of these on each flank on hold, attack, rear. You have decent odds that they can get behind and kill indie commanders if they're not heavy cav. The heavy cav, they're probably not going to be able to take out. But even the heavy infantry, leaders, the indie ones, they can usually take them down all right. The wolf itself does have a bite attack. Again, it's okay. It doesn't really hit hard enough to be great. But overall, these two are nice. It's nice that you can get them outside of your forts as long as you can get forests. So remember, all of our light troops plus these two are forest recruits. So I do think we supplement our armies with these guys. They're fast moving. We can get one of our leaders that can lead them around with the fast movement so they can resupply armies. They could go raiding. They could patrol for your blood hunting. Overall, pretty actually handy units, I would say. Next, we have the Moose Rider. Interesting that this is a crossbow moose. That's a thing. We have an archer with a short bow, and we have a crossbow on him. The moose itself only has 9 morale. Do keep that in mind. 5 magic resist isn't great, but it's still a moose. It's got 38 HP and a good kick and a good antler attack, although they're a little unskilled at it. The archer's kind of whatever. The crossbow's okay. These are size 6 though, so they're not. It's 1 per square. So just keep that in mind. I'm not a huge fan of these. If I'm going to do attack rear stuff, I'm just going to take the cheap wolves. For 30 gold, 15 resources, 24 recruitment points, you could almost get like 3 wolves for this price. But some people like these. They do have the new fire mobile archer, so they can fire on the move. That's new in Dom 6. So if you did have a group of these, hold attack rear, they will still shoot while they're getting into the back. It could be useful here. Again, a unit that definitely would like some buffs. If you could make the moose a little more survivable, I definitely think that would be helpful here. As cool as these are, they are no longer the premier moose nation. They have been dethroned, unfortunately. Next up, we have cap-only units. We have the Jotan Hurler. This is the boulder throwing guys. They are susceptible to shock. They have high cold resistance, snow move, and a siege bonus. I will say for sure, the siege bonus is really useful. If we check the siege power of, let's say our good line troops, let's say we have a group of these guys, it's only 0.8. A normal human is 1.0. A hurler, conversely, is 9.4. So that's like what, 13 of the little guys, give or take, worth of siege strength. So a couple turns of these guys is worth a lot of turns and way more resources worth of our other troops. So I definitely think there's something to be said about at least a medium to large size 1 squad of these guys as your siege force. I think you'll be very happy with that. I will also note the boulders can throw range 7. If you buff their strength, that increases that. And if they do hit, they hit like a boulder at 36 blunt damage, which is pretty funny. Next, we have the Jotan Axeman. This is a pretty decent unit. It's basically been almost unchanged since early age. Length 2 axe with a 10 attack and 29 slashing damage. 30 gold, 39 resources, 17 recruitment points. Has good HP, has great strength, good protection, good magic resist, good morale. Chainmail halberd, a half helmet, and a shield. I like these guys. It can be hard to get them. In most of my games, I was doing a little bit of order and no production. So these are kind of an oddball in that they are a high resource troop. But I do like these guys. At size 6, they can easily wade through your size 2 troops to the front. So you can have 2 of the little guys plus 1 of these guys in a square. And those could be, I don't know, 2 berserkers to share the square with him. That's pretty handy. So I like these guys quite a bit. Having lots of little guys helps just so they don't get completely swarmed. These guys bring in a little bit of HP anchoring to the army. Kind of nice. Unfortunately, they are cap only, so the amount of these you're going to get is going to be relatively limited. Finally, we have the Vaettir. We have seen a variant of these before as summons in earlier ages to some of the Jotan line nations. These guys are a lot better than they were on release. I believe when they released, they didn't have ice armor or ice protection. I'm not even sure they had cold power, if I'm being honest. They were pretty trash. But nowadays, they're actually pretty decent because of those things. Cold power, ice armor, ice protection. So if we're in cold 3, you would get 3 natural protection and 3 normal protection. So that's going to take us up to 19-ish. It doesn't stack linearly. That's what I'm kind of thinking about here. 18, 19-ish, I would say, for just natural protection if we're in cold 3. And with the cold power, that's going to give us extra strength and I believe defense on that. So going up in strength is very helpful. We're already really good with our magic ice blade that does 15 slashing. So even in cold 1, that takes us to the magic 16 number that I love to see. And in that same, we would probably have about 16 protection from our Ice Cuirass, Ice Cap, and Shield. These guys are also relatively unique because they still have a Cho aura. Most nations that used to do stuff like that have kind of lost that power. So relatively unique that we still have our aura there. Now, cold auras are kind of bad. You have to really stack it on to get things to go, and it doesn't stack in intensity anymore, which is a pretty big nerf to these guys, I would say, because little guys with auras stack auras very well, but it doesn't go up in intensity, only in size. Asterisks on that, the way that cold ones work, but I'm not going to go into those mechanics here. Just know that this isn't stellar. It's fine. It's cool, no pun intended, but this isn't going to like freeze out entire armies. I do like these guys. I do think that even without a bless, I would probably still get these guys, get some giants and get a few of these guys in your capital. They're all right, especially if you're going to go cold 3. You just get a lot of free stats on them. They would definitely like a little bit of blessing. Something to help, ironically enough, still with a little bit more survivability. 10 HP is a little worrisome, but they're actually more survivable than they may otherwise look with their relatively human-looking stats here. Magic weapons, a great pickup. As long as you keep them in the cold, I don't think they're going to let you down too hard. But at the same time, I'm not jumping for joy with this Sacred. He's fine. He's okay. He's usable. He's maybe a little, ironically, above average compared to a lot of nations. Heroes, Commanders, and Prophet. For heroes, we have the Great Hag. Really nice in that she's just a really solid caster that can do a lot of nice things for you. Astral 3, Death 3, Nature 2, Glamour 3, Blood 3. The strongest guaranteed in all of those, just straight up. Anti-magic can be cast natively by her. She could be a Horde of Skeleton person. She could craft you Skull Staves. She could craft you a Thistle Mace relatively easy. She could craft the first Glamour booster, which is Glamour 3. It's the helmet or the veil. Really important if you want to do Glamour stuff that you have a Glamour 3 so you can make those. And she could do Blood 3. So lots of things here. The Glamour nature is a good cross path for lots of things that you might summon in. Just good stuff all around here. She is susceptible to shock. She has cold resistance, poison resistance, snow move, forest survival, brings in some food from her nature. She comes in at very old. She's 2073. Happy birthday, Grandma. 15 fortune teller. She has a death curse, and she has an adept crossbreeder. Granny's into some weird stuff. Clear her browser history, please. Overall, a great hero. Definitely maybe sight search, but beyond that, she's not stealthy, so just be aware of that. Definitely somebody to keep safe or use it in very important fights. Twilight, anti-magic, big important things that you might want to be able to do. Going up to commanders, we start off with the Vaettir. This could also be recruited in Forest. This is our mounted commander with the heavier gear, the chainmail cuirass and iron cap and shield. He's wielding a short sword, 12 attack, 15 piercing or slashing. It's okay. He is the pillager leader. You do have to lead pillaging troops with a pillaging leader to do the command if you want to do that. Has that forest survival, is stealthy, snow move, and cold resist. But he's fine. He can leave guys around. He's only got 50 leadership, but you're going to see we are not a good leadership nation. I'm going to skip up and I'm going to go to the Vaettir. This is another leader of ours. 50 leadership again. Very similar to the last one. He's 145 gold, 7 resources, 2 recruitment points. Comparison, the other one's much cheaper for the same leadership. So if you just care about leadership, get the cheaper guy. This guy, though, brings in 1 nature and a priest level and is sacred. He can summon allies. These summon in wolves. You only get like a couple of them. I wasn't overly impressed with those. I don't think we have a strategy here. They're not sacred or anything. Is a beastmaster if you do that. He himself, though, I like it that he can do nature magic, so he can do bark skin on himself, if nothing else. Makes him relatively safe. Eagle eyes and then help banish like undead, I suppose. Probably his biggest use. Also, just a mobile blesser for your troops is kind of handy. Jumping back to the Vaettir, this is our best leader, and unfortunately, he's only leadership 75. We're definitely a nation that suffers from bad leadership. We would really, I think, prefer to be in formations. So summoning in something like a sleeper from Glamour would be really handy for us. It's a shame that we have such nice crossbows, and we're a little susceptible to counter battery because we're going to be in box formation, which is unfortunate. He himself is 70 gold, 14 resources, 1 recruitment point, has the standard Vaettir traits plus pillager. is really good with that short sword. He studied the blade when you were helping grandma cook cookies or something. I don't know. That 15 slashing piercing damage is fine. Half helmet, chainmail halberd, and a shield. Probably the leader you're going to use for your troops, just because he has that 75 leadership. So no penalty at least, but no formations and no bonuses, unfortunately. Next up, we have the Vaettir. This is one of our main mages-ish. She's a little expensive for what you get, in my opinion. 265 gold, 3 resources, 2 recruitment points. Low stats at 7 HP and below human stats. She is also old. She's already above her max age, so it's unlikely you will get ones that are not old unless you roll the nature, which is a small chance. Comes in with Water 1, Death 1, Glamour 1, Priest 1, and a 100% chance of Water, Astral, Death, Nature, Blood. Overall, I'm not in love with these. They could be your blood hunters with that blood if you had to. They have Slap, which is hilarious. They cause Shrink if they don't make a magic resist save. I've never got a good hilarious one on camera. I wish I would. Who knows? Maybe this will be the time. Beyond that, 13 research for 106 gold a year is efficient, although we have things that are more efficient. So maybe you're getting these ones. I don't love this pathing. That's a lot of unused paths, unfortunately. I'm going to skip and I'm going to jump over to the Vaettiheim. This one can only be recruited in non-fort forests. However, it's going to be slow to recruit because it's not in a fort, but it's only 60 gold. So 30 gold per turn will get you a Vaettiheim who has a 100% chance to get Water, Astral, Death, Nature, Glamour, Blood. Why do I like these guys more? It's about the efficiency. They're so bloody cheap. I would try to have every single forest popping these out. Astral 1 is just as good as the Vaettir at being a body ethereal spammer. It's same thing if you want to do something with the Glamour ones. They're just as good. They're just as buffable to Glamour 2s. They're just as good blood hunters at Blood 1. All of those things are just as good, and they're like, what? A fifth the cost almost? A fourth the cost? They're so much cheaper than those other ones. Yeah, they still come in old, so that's no different. About the same age problem there. They are only 5 research for 48 gold, but their initial cost is so low, and you're probably, at least I would say, you're probably looking at getting magic scales. And with magic scales, that means that your research ability is now a 7 for that 48 gold. Much, much more efficient than it was before. And you can siphon off the useful ones for your armies without feeling too bad about it. And the ones that are less useful can stay at home and bake cookies or do research. So I definitely like these ones. I think you are really looking at expanding with an eye to forests so that you can get these out. And remember, in addition to needing forest for these, we have some forest recruits that are not misery, and we have half-price labs in those forests. So for 360 gold, you could have your first Vaettiheim today. Well, in 2 turns when you finish that slow recruit. But either way, I like those quite a bit. All right, jumping back over, we have the Vaettir. These are a cap-only assassin, and they're actually all right. I wish they were sacred. They would be really good if they were sacred. They're not, though. 140 gold, 8 resources, 1 recruitment point. Now remember, we only have a castle at our main place here. So if we look here, commander points is 2, so we could get 2 of these per turn if we were so inclined. But they're fine. They are a little squishy. They don't like fighting people who are mounted. We would really like to proc one of the indoor fights that doesn't have a mount present, if at all possible. They are weaker on the human side, but they are exceptionally well trained. They have 16 and 14 attack respectively. They have a 14 defense, good magic resist, good morale. Those are good things on assassins. Yeah, they don't have like hitting protection, but most assassins just die if you get hit anyways. So who cares? They have above human combat speed, so they might get to swing first. That's handy. And they're wielding a dust dagger and a poison dagger. Great combo. The dust dagger is 16 attack, 12 magic damage, and it has an extra effect of draw blood. If you start profusely bleeding, you're probably dead if you're a commander that's getting assassinated. And they also have a poison dagger with a strong poison. This ticks for about 2 per round if you hit them with it. So you do a little bit of damage, and then they just start bleeding and getting poisoned, ideally. I think they're all right. They will probably lose to anything that has nature 1 that spams animate tree. They really struggle with that. That's just an assassin problem in general. They also don't like things that are mounted. So heavy cav units or even light cav commanders, they're going to struggle a bit there. You're going to really hope that you get a bar fight or something with these guys. But beyond that, they're fine. I didn't find it very consistent expansion. I did try a couple times with assassin expansion, but it's not terrible either. So if you have a turn where you could pop a few of these out, about 4 of these, 5 of these going around, clearing out some of the hard troops, but easy commanders. So things like they've got lots of heavy infantry and they have lots of crossbows, but they're only being led by a couple heavy commanders. That would be a good target for these guys. Overall, I think they're cool. It's unfortunate they're cap only. It could actually be a pretty interesting assassination if they weren't cap only. Finally, we have the Jotan gygja. Can only be recruited in our capital. This is our biggest mage. 405 gold, 3 resources, 2 recruitment points. 35 HP isn't terrible. She has otherwise kind of mediocre stats. Good magic resistance, good morale. Her leadership's about as good as most of our leaders, weirdly enough. Her biggest problem is she's very old. She is 330 and max age is 300. Unless you random into the nature, which they don't do in 6, they used to in 5, you are probably going to be old. Is it worth an Unaging Bless? Yeah, I'm not even sure an Unaging Bless fully gets them out. You might still get some old ones. Maybe they would be less old, so they would have less of a penalty. If we check here, old age is given a -1. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's worthwhile. Maybe someone can argue that in the comments below. Pathwise, we have Death 1, Glamour 1, Blood 1, Priest 1, and we have independent 100%, and they are slightly different. The first one is 100% chance to get Water, Astral, Death, Nature, Blood. A separate 100% chance to get one of Astral, Death, Nature, Glamour, Blood. And then an independent 10% chance to get Water, Astral, Death, Nature, Blood. Boy, that was a tongue twister there. So overall, it's very unlikely that you double proc. Like you would need a 25 and then a 25 to hit 2 death in here to get a death 3. Or you would need a 25 and then a 25 to get a nature 2. So if you do get a nature 2 or a death 3, that's very rare. So consider what you're going to do with them. They also have the pathing to cast Illwinter, but not high enough at all. You'd have to ram them into the water, and then you would have to get 3 water from somewhere, and you'd have to get some blood. If you want to do that spell, at least, and a couple of our other spells, you're probably going to have to look at a pretender. These are not going to be able to do it. I don't love these either. Again, the pathing is just too wonky. We'd only have a... Actually, I said 25 earlier. This is only a 20% chance because we have 5 in here. So we only have a 20% chance to get to Glamour 2. That's why I think that hero is so good for this nation. It's very unfortunate. I feel like this was supposed to be a better Glamour nation, but we just aren't very good at it. We're just not very good at a lot of magic. So we have several paths that we might be able to get to 2s, and we have some pretty efficient level 1s. So just tamper your expectations properly with the magic on this nation. So yeah, we could get lots of them though. So at least if you find something you like to do, you could probably put a lot of them on the field. So that's at least handy. Who would I make my prophet? I think we're looking at these first 3 guys. If you want the most defensive guy, the Vaettir Jarl is what we start with for our leader. Make him the prophet. If it wasn't going to be him, I would probably go with the heavier of the 2 guys here, because he has extra protection. I do like the Cav. He is also our more mobile option because of the Cav and the snow move. Beyond that, though, those aren't stellar chassis. I suppose it is stealthy. I do put a little more weight than I used to maybe on stealthy prophets, especially if you don't need them to be blessing your armies. And we are going to have very few and very small sacreds. So even if we were getting 5 of these guys a turn, that's 1 square of sacreds. So we could easily bless that with just a normal priest. That's less of a problem. So I think I would go with one of these 3, probably leaning towards the stealthy guys, but I may just take the Vaettir Jarl because our expansion is going to suck. And I want that prophet as soon as possible to try to help that, even if it's just a little bit. National items and spells. As for national items, we have no national items. As for national spells, we actually have several. Starting us off in Conjuration at Conjuration 3, we have Summon Glossos. These are those fiery boars with heat auras. We can natively cast it, and we do have death income. So maybe we're probably taking cold skills though, so temper your expectations there. They are, I believe, size 4, so they are okay tramplers. We'll look at them in a minute. We have Sloth of Bears. These are not sacred. They are nature 2, which we can luck into getting a nature 2, and we do have 2 nature income, so we can summon those in. We also have Herd of Moose. Again, same thing. We can get those if we get lucky. Going up to Conjuration 4, we have Brood of Garm at Nature 2 for 10 Nature Gems. I like these a lot. This is probably our best nature summon. These give us 5 big Jotan wolves for 10 gems. These wolves are sacred and they have a fear aura. We'll look at them. Very nice. At 8, we have Summon Dwarf of the 4 Directions. This requires Earth 3 and Air 4. We can totally not do this at all natively. 62 air gems would be hard to come by. Probably not happening on this nation, unfortunately. Looking at those troops, we have the Great Bears. They are bears. I suppose you could use them for some extra siege strength, although I think our hurlers are just good enough that I wouldn't bother. My mod does not have the moose, but it's just a naked moose, like what we're riding around on. The Glosso is very interesting and fine. Maybe the heat does something for you that could be a nice little surprise for somebody. They are size 4 tramplers, and they are sacred, and they do have a poison attack. I like these a lot. Just I'm not sure how much use they're going to be in our probably cold 3 nation. Jotun wolves are really nice. I like these quite a bit. They have good HP. They have good strength. Their morale's fine. They have good magic resistance. Even protection's fine for an animal. They are size 6, but that's fine. We can put 2 little guys in there with them. No problems there. They go berserk. They have a fear aura. They're cold resistant and have snow move. 2 really good attacks. I like these guys a lot. I definitely would like to dump nature gems into these if I get the opportunity. I'm going to spoil this one, but in Blood, we also have a way that we can kind of sort of get a Neefle Jarl, and we can get Neefle Giants. I did not actually pull up Illwinter to see if we actually are able to get these out of forts during Illwinter. I have a sneaky suspicion that we don't actually get these. If you know for sure if Illwinter turns on Neefle Giant recruitment, I assume it would be 1 per fort per year. That's an assumption. If it does work, I have a sneaky suspicion this doesn't. We do have a ritual, though, where we can summon in Neefle Jarls. That is pretty handy. Water 3, so highest water we can get. It is a Death Mage 2, Priest level 2, and a random 110% chance of water, death, or glamour. Very nice super combatant that you could summon in the late age. He's a size 9 with 75 HP, good strength, good attack. Also has Ice Protection 3. So while this starts at 14, if you're in Cold 3, add 9 to that. Ditto with the Cold Power, add 3 to those stats. Very, very spooky. Has a really big chill aura. Overall, just a really nice guy. Plop in a couple of these into your army to do big water magic or some death stuff, or as just super combatants. Feels real good. They also have a magic weapon, which is appreciated, so you don't even have to forge some piece of gear if you don't want to. Overall, very, very nice there. Back into spells. At Thaumaturgy, at Thom 5, we have the Seath Curse. I don't like this one. It's a Death Astral, requires 3 Death Gems. The problem with this is it's only range 5, and it's just going to be a random commander in a province. So unless you see an Awake Expander, I'm probably never going to bother firing this. So it also randomly curses one of our guys, just to make it a little worse. Kind of a big boo on that one. In Blood Magic, at 6, we have Illwinter. This requires Blood 5, Water 3, so very hard to do natively unless you make your god do it. 120 Blood Slaves, but pretty nasty spell. It is the titular spell of the game, Illwinter, being the developers of the game. Affects the entire world, 50% chance of getting 1d4 unrest. It adds +1 cold every 4 months, and it randomly attacks and random attacks in cold provinces. I think they're usually wolf attacks. Allows recruitment of 1 Neefle Giant in every fort for Jotun nations. I just don't know if I believe that until I actually get confirmation from somebody. I couldn't find a place that said that it actually did this. If it does, Cool, that's some extra sacreds. Who knows, maybe your bless is fine for him. But I think the big thing for this is ironically just the other stuff, just making everything cold and miserable, assuming you don't have other major cold nations in your game. And it also turns on the ability to do Winter's Call, which allows us to summon in those Jarls, which are quite nice. I like those quite a bit. 86 Blood Slaves is a fine price for a super combatant, essentially, or if not a very, very heavy thug, depending on how you want to classify things. Magic-wise, we're in a little bit of a weird spot. We would sure like Twilight, but we can't natively cast Twilight outside of our hero. Yeah, if you luck into a Glamour 2, you could use 2 gems to cast it, so that's okay. We do have some nature, so again, we could get some nature buffs, but nature 2s are going to be really rare, so it's going to be hard for us to do things like Group Bark Skin, unfortunately. We also don't have Dark Vision or anything, so Nightfall's not really going to help us out here. Glamour 2 does get us Gift of Displacement. That can be really, really nice. Attackers have their skill reduced by 5 for their first attack. Put this on something like your Berserkers. Well, if the Berserker gets to swing twice at you, like he swings, you swing and miss, and then he swings again, I'm going to put my money on the Berserker actually winning that fight for sure. Moving on from there, Conjuration, I will say we would really benefit from summoning in some leaders and mages, and we do have a little bit of maybe sort of being able to do some Fey Folk. We're in cold, so we would get the Unseelie ones. The Knights especially are just excellent, but the Foot Folk aren't bad either. The ones I want to call out here, though, is Sleepers. If you can get to Sleepers, this is a really good commander. I believe he has 150 leadership. He's a magical guy from a long time ago. He's like size 4, and he has like the old gleaming gear, like the magic bronze stuff. Quite nice stuff, I would say. That also is the same place for Fey Knight to get 3 of these for 15. Now, remember, we don't have native glamour, though, not income. So you're relying on finding some sites. But if you do, both of those are excellent. We also might want to try to get Sea King Court at 6. Sea King Court requires 4 water and 55 water gems, but you get a troll leader who I believe he's water. If he's not water 4, he's water 3, and he gives you a water gem. And then you get some nice trolls and some other trolls, just some more big, beefy guys to help HP anchor your army. Also lets you get underwater. I like these guys quite a bit, and being able to summon in mages is always great. Beyond those, 6 also gets you gnomes. Again, we can't natively do these, so you're kind of looking at some lift. But if you can get the gnomes are really nice because they'll bring in some earth buffing for your armies. And we are very buffable, having 5 of our little guys per square. Just giant strength alone amps our army greatly. Temper armor, protection buffs. We don't have great access to nature, so we could just go with the earthen protection buffs. Could be kind of nice. You can also do glamour or nature stuff off of the gnome. I think you'd be pretty happy if you can get those out. Again, it's late age though, so you're just chancing on those glamour gems. In thaumaturgy, there's a couple of things of interest here. One, we do have some astral, so we could do some light communions. We could get people who can do things like curse. Sleep could be a thing. Mind burn could be a thing if you do Light of the Northern Star, perhaps with your hero or your god, and then boost people up. The one I want to call out specifically here, Visions of Death, is pretty nice. Visions of Death is almost a soul slay. Essentially, it's false damage, 25 plus. Again, not super easy to do natively, but maybe we can get there. The big one for me is going to be the luck stuff. So any of the luck stuff is so nice because a lucky unit has a 75% chance of escaping an otherwise deadly blow. When you have line troops who have 8 HP, almost every blow is going to be a deadly blow. And having a 75% chance to not get killed by that is really, really nice. We also, at 7, have the Gates of Horn and Ivory. If you were going to go with the glamour angle, I think you are shooting for this 100%. This is the Gem Gen. It gives you 15 per month, and it increases the glamour range. Who cares about that? It's the 15 gems you care about. If you do want to go the glamour route, you're almost going to be required to do this. And the reason I keep bringing up glamour is I'm very tempted by Battle Fortune / Dreamwild Legion, which is the level 9 spell. Not something we've done a ton of. Yeah, but Dreamwild Legion is a battlefield-wide luck, and I feel like luck is so good on this nation because 10 is like our high HP, 8, 7, I think, on a few people. So being able to get that up would be super duper helpful to us. We also have a light, very light amount of blood. Maybe blood too if you're super duper lucky. What we want from here, in my opinion, is probably if you need to choose whether you're going to design a pretender to be able to do these 2 spells. We're just not going to bootstrap into blood 5, water 3. It is not happening. But let's say that you did. I do like these. And on the way, once you have those, if you for some reason don't want another Neefle Jarl, you could consider Frost Fiends. They're fine. We're going to have very cold area. So that could be a thing. Blood Fecundity is another one that we could kind of sort of do. Get some extra growth out for our nation. Could be kind of nice there. I will say also in Alteration, all 3, of course, for Body Ethereal. We also can get some people who can do Moss Body. My only sketchy piece here is if you have your Moss Body popped, that might do enough poison to actually like kill off some of our low HP troops. So maybe your mileage varies a little on that. I don't know. It is AR Effect 1 though, so you do get this on 5 guys for the price of 1 cast. Something to be said for that, I suppose. Okay, let's bring all of that together. Vaettiheim is a nation of little gobos who finally have their own nation and a few of their special friend giants. They can only build castles, which is okay, but not something to be super happy about. We have all right efficiency casters, a little bit expensive casters. We have light access to Sabbaths, light access to communions, and light access to good magic, frankly. While it's very efficient, we are going to struggle getting enough of these guys out. So let's just take a look. Like, here's a smattering of ones I've been recruiting. These are the gygjas. So a water 2 is kind of nice. A death 2 could do some skelly spamming. There's another water 2. I don't know, quickness, liquid body maybe. Cold bolt wouldn't be terrible. But again, you're paying for, let's say I'm going to spam cold bolt. You're paying for the death and the glamour, and you're not going to use it at all. So these are not the type of mages that I particularly like. If we look at my capital, here's my hero, and here's some gygjas that I've recruited. I did get 1 nature 2, and then there's another one out exploring. We got 1 nature 2, we got 1 blood 2, and that is it. If I find my explorers, yeah, she got astral 2 while she was out exploring. So I think you need to think a lot about what magic you're going to want, and it's probably going to be in the realm of buffing our troops. So I think that's where you're going to make your biggest gains there. Also, we are definitively, I would say, a cold nation. So guess who, of course, I have in my game? It's everyone's favorite Atlantis. He's just all over, completely surrounding me. And he loves my cold 3. That's why he attacked me right here. So that, and Calum, you know, same thing. Lemuria, same thing. At least 2 of those 3 are what I would consider pretty dang dangerous nations in this age. And it sucks that we really like the cold the same as them. We prefer cold 2, remember. So even if you're like, well, screw that, I'm going to go heat 1. That's a long ways from cold 2, and you're going to have a lot of economic penalties from that. So that's a big oof. I don't even know, like, it's bad enough. I don't know if I would play these guys in a game that has Atlantis, at least. Maybe Calum, but Atlantis, I don't know. And that sucks. That really sucks. Atlantis, why are you so good? Beyond that, I do think it's a fun nation. I like that we have these forest recruits, and they're not misery. Like, the wolves are fine. The axemen they have a use. They're fine. It's a dang shame we can't get our crossbows as recruit forests. I know why we can't, because they're using iron, but still, how cool would that be? Also, we have the Vaettir hags. Remember the little 60 gold here? Not the worst ones ever. I don't think I have a place that's been doing those long enough to really know. I've just been getting those out in this game. So, but they're fine. Just imagine they can only get 1 path, but 1 astral's fine and usable, 1 nature's usable, 1 glamour's usable, 1 blood is my preferred blood hunter. So I do think these are pretty nice, and they're very nice and efficient researchers for sure. We do have a little bit of access to good research boosters. We might be able to make a homunculi. We could make a skull mentor. We could make the dream stone. All those are really powerful research items, and we could give them to just these little tiny quite cheap researchers, which is kind of what you want to do. Do be aware if you're going to do that, pick your youngest ones so they don't come in old and just get a disease and die with your research items. So just be aware of that. Pretenders and scale design. For scales, remember we have a limit of +1 cold, and we prefer a cold scale of +2. For our set of pretender chassis, we're not the worst, but we're definitely not the best either. Starting down in Dom 1, we have the Great Enchantress rapidly rising in stocks with her gem genning in late age. Beyond her, we do have Great Sage. If we want to just go all in on rushing something for research, you better make sure he can cast it though, because I don't know who else is going to do that casting for you. Do a Frostfather. He can be really efficient because he starts with multiple paths. If those are paths that work for you. We have the Scrotty. The problem with him is you're paying 100 design point or 120 for a blood 1 when you could pay 100 for the Freak Lord, and he doesn't really bring anything else that is making me jump for joy there. Moving up to Dom 2, you can definitely expand with the regenerating Draco Lich or reforming flesh or whatever it is. That doesn't do anything for the rest of your nation though, so kind of an oddball pick there. A Lenomer. I don't actually hate the Lenomer. I think he could be an expander for us here. It's too bad that we don't have the Svartov Mastersmith. He is my preferred chassis of those two. If you did get these guys, you could. He is a Dragon Master, so later on in the game, if he gets wounded or you just don't want him fighting, he could do some Ice Drake summons. That could be kind of useful for us. We don't need a Bless particularly on our Sacreds if you don't want one. So you could make a Bless that just works for him. He does have 18 protection. Unfortunately, it is 80 for a new magic path. If you wanted to do this, I mean, hard skin, that's just my go-to for expansion. This just makes it so much safer. Having 23 protection and then self-buffing yourself with something makes this much, much, much safer. He does have a Fear Aura. He does have a nice Poison Cloud. Note, he doesn't natively have regeneration. And again, it's 80 points if I wanted to put regeneration onto him. So it's okay. In fact, it's more than that. It's just way too expensive. Either way, I do think this is, maybe you could make it work. I'm not so certain on that. Beyond those, I do like Son of Finir. Maybe you could make something work with him. Maybe just like a Barkskin Bless. That's not one that I use particularly, but we are not the best casters of Barkskin. I really wish you could put those on and then have to pay for them. There we go. So Barkskin, and then we need 1, so we go Water 2. This does let him cast Regeneration on himself. This does let him cast Gift of Health or Mother Oak. And that's kind of nice. I do like that. Let me actually take a peek at one of these guys. Can I get him to... Oh, that sucks. Okay, we'll do that. Okay. I don't hate that. So we're awake. We have Barkskin. Barkskin is going to give us 7 natural protection up. But so we're not going to get that much because his natural protection is already 13. So it's going to be like 4 or 5 protection. Not going to be nearly high enough. And remember, this isn't going to stack the same way hard skin stacks. So he's going to be a little on the lighter side. Be aware of that. But with the regen and Breath of Winter on, it'll be okay. Maybe liquid body him too, just to try to slow down those afflictions that are going to hit him. This could be a thing if you just want an awake expander. Beyond him, we can take people who have sloth here. In my experience, I think you do want order 2 for the recruitment points, but you don't need the production. The production would be nice in your capital, and it would help your forest recruits be able to get a few more guys out. But it's not super duper like have to have. So maybe this is a nation where you could take a dragon. You could take a ice dragon here that could do his frost breath. We have relatively good coverage of cold resistance, so you don't have to worry too much about the friendly fire. Dom 3, Sun and Neefle is just too dang expensive. I wish this guy was way cheaper. He's cool. He comes in with gear, but cool. But yeah, he's just way too expensive. I don't like many of these. The Dividius of the Sun, I will give her props for being a 2 fire gem summoner. If I was going to do her, I would definitely get Fire 3 so that she can summon in Flame Spirits. Flame Spirits would let us get fire into our army, and the main thing there would be just fire arrows for me. That would be kind of handy. Going up to Dom 4. Super cheap bless. You just want like regen on an Ermine Soul. He also gets you 1 nature site that gives you a gem from the beginning of the game. Could be useful. Idol of Sorcery is an excellent, excellent chassis. Just really good. Definitely taking Magic 3 if you're going with this guy. And he does bring open a lot of options. Another way we might take our bless, maybe we go for something like Dread. Yeah, Dread is 8 glamour if we wanted to go with actual fear. Yeah, I don't know why fear is so expensive. This is really too expensive. I would definitely go Dread here. So we went with this. Go Dread. We're probably going to have to take him as dormant. I don't know if I would want to bang. I guess we could. We did go order. Okay, we could get a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I don't hate that. Yeah, the main thing here being the Dread, of course. We could give ourselves Spirit Sight if we wanted to. We only have 3 points here. Blur, we could kind of sort of cast Blur. Undying just to give us some extra HP, because just stack a bunch of heroism. This could work. Dread would be nice because while we don't have that many sacreds, they're going to be nice and tightly packed, so all their R's are going to be overlapping. Can be kind of useful. Beyond him, Monolith, if you really want to go blood fountain stuff. So it's an okay smattering here, I would say. It's not blowing my mind, but we have options at least, depending on what you like to do here. Let's take a look at the chassis I was testing mostly. I did scrap a couple that I just didn't find I liked. I was trying to do production stuff that just isn't really needed here. Did not work. Oh my goodness, where are you at? This is Ice Blanc, the Great Enchantress. She is coming in at Dormant. Pretty heavy on the scales, I would say. 5 Dominion, 2 Order, 0 Production, 3 Cold, 1 Growth to counteract some of that cold pop kill, and we are going to do some blood hunting, hopefully. 1 Misfortune, 2 Magic. Her Bless comes in at 4 Revigoration, Strong Blood, and Heroism. The Strong Blood was for the idea of our our gygjas, our full-size ones, having some disease resistance just to keep them going. I don't know if this is actually needed. I could definitely see dropping that and freeing up some points. If I did get rid of that, probably taking Blood Surge or Strong Blood. I'd drop some Reinvigoration and some Strong Blood and go that route. And just a point of heroism because that's what I had left. Her main thing is she's going to try to get us A, Illwinter, and B, some other utility. So gnomes, I would really like to get gnomes out. Seeking Court, I mentioned earlier, I'd like to get them out. Jotan Jarls, I'd like to get them out. She is a Glamour Gem generator. So we are going to rush Thaumaturgy as hard as we can up to 7. And hopefully by that point, between what she's generating, get her out sight searching when she wakes up, hopefully find a site or 2. And then we're going to put up the Gate of, was it Bone and Ivory or whatever? The Glamour generator. 15 Glamour Gems per turn will let us crank out a nice amount of like 1 Seelie Knight cast per turn, which is 3 Seelie Knights, or some gnomes, or we could do water kobolds, we could do cave kobolds, all kinds of little utility things that opens up for us. Big glamour also means that we can do the big glamour group luck stuff, which we would really, really like. So that would be my plan here. I'm not 100% sold on this. The reinvigoration is nice for our sacreds, but our sacreds are kind of whatever, and our gygjas are kind of whatever. So I think I'll maybe redistribute this maybe into Blood Surge. I don't know. The bless on those guys is so whatever. I don't have a strong opinion there. This is okay. It's just she doesn't have the pathing for unaging, which I was trying to squeeze in, but it was fine. I like the idea of this, and I like the using the luck. We saw that really good on Nidovigor when we played them. That luck was absolutely broken. Now it's broken on them for a different reason, but in this army, almost everybody who gets hit is just going to die. So having a 75% chance to just not die while you have that is super duper nice. Beyond that one, I'm really interested in knowing what other people have liked on this nation. Like I mentioned, I do think you want the order. We are heavy on recruitment points for most of our troops, and really only our capital cares about the extra production. but maybe I could be tilted in different directions if anyone can make a decent argument there. All right, in conclusion, Vaettiheim, one of the later nations added to Dominions 5, is a very fun nation, very flavorful nation, and I think they're all right. I don't think they're at the higher end of the power scale, but they have some tricks that they can do. They have some good research potential. They have all right usable mages, just they're mainly going to be focused, I think, on doing some buffing. They have a lot of issues that can be solved if you can get the gems or the blood slaves to summon in the solutions. So that makes a nation that needs to find a way to get through the early game. And speaking of the early game, the starting army is so trash. You get some of these light Vaettir spearmen and you get some short bows. What the heck? Change out the short bows for at least an equal amount of crossbows. I will pay the 6 resources and 1 gold to upgrade from an archer to a crossbowman. That would make the beginning so much less painful. It is bad. It is so bad. Even like a crappy militia shortbow province might be enough to bounce that on turn 2. It feels so bad with that starting army. And you really, really need to get at least a few resources to get yourself going. To start off with, you're probably going to need some wolf riders to try to flank and kill a leader and just pray they do it so you can get expansion started. Then you want that, plus you probably want some of the axemen here. And then once you get your cap circle, it's not so bad. But man, this initial cap circle was so painful. So painful. So just keep that in mind. Really bad expansion. So hold your breath for the stream of this one. I'm sure we can set some new records there. All right, builders, if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like on the video. Helps me out a ton. If you're not subscribed, I hope I've earned your subscription today. I'd love to see you in chat or in the comments on the videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can always leave a super thanks here. Check out the Patreon and Discord linked on the channel info, or consider becoming a member on YouTube. As a member on YouTube, you get early access to videos I'm working on. Usually that is meant Dominions pre-games, but it can be other things I'm working on at the time. Beyond that, make sure to leave me any hot tips or tricks of the nation. I found it relatively straightforward, kind of a fun one. I do like my little gobo boys, even if I don't think they're the strongest. And especially let me know of pretender designs or blesses that you'd like to see. I definitely like the glamour angle, but I could easily be swayed into something else. All right, I will see you guys in the Ironwood. Babble out.